All right. Welcome to the Western Star Movie Podcast. I am your very good host, HJW Hunter James. And we have a new week. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody past due Thanksgiving. But we have some great things to talk about, some not so good things to talk about. Um, some of the topics we're going to be talking about today: Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes strikes twice, topping the box office. Will it be enough to break even and maybe do some good in the box office? Also, Wish opens to extremely low numbers. Same thing was for Elemental. Could it do the same legs? I don't think so. Aquaman 2 is tracking for roughly half of what the first Aquaman made. Will it reach $1 billion? We don't know. And then some reviews coming out of other films that I have seen over the past couple of days, all that stuff. So, with that said, let's get in to the topics at hand and let's begin with number one. I finally was able to catch the Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, or Shoots and Ladders, um, Eels and Escalators, whatever you want to call it. The new Hunger Games prequel. It did break number one last weekend, opening with $44 million. I, for one, was not there to see it because I couldn't see it. Well, it's not that I couldn't; it's just I just didn't want to go see it because I was like, I don't know if I feel really down for a movie like that. Which, honestly, some people have been saying it's actually pretty good. So whatever. But I finally went to go see it with my uncle. I didn't go see it with my father because I don't think because he doesn't care about the Hunger Games movies. I think we saw the first one when it was in theaters, and then the other film, Catching Fire, which I love. But other than that, he hasn't watched the other two Hunger Games movies. My friends back in high school took me to so see it, I think. But whatever. So that came out, and 8 years later, we got a prequel about really Snow's backstory and how he became notorious for the Hunger Games and stuff, and how he was the mad evil guy, whatever. So I was actually very interested to see what this movie was going to do. I've been hearing mixed reviews from this film, even lower reviews than the Mockingjay Part One, which I feel like is the worst in the franchise. It's still the worst after watching this movie. Does that mean the movie's good? Not really. Um, I didn't really enjoy this one that much. Now, that's not to say there are some positive things about this movie. There are some positive things about this movie. And it's there's a lot of things that I love that I liked about this movie that I think are great in their own way. Number one, the performances. Oh my god, the performances are incredible with this movie. I mean, Viola Davis, is going to be great. She's a professional. Peter Dinklage is awesome as the man who kind of created the Hunger Games. He's great in this movie. But the leads are fantastic. Rachel Zegler, I mean, we all know Rachel Zegler is a great actress. I mean, and she's been in a little bit of under fire because of her comments made about a 1940 or 1950 animated movie. I don't know how much of a loser your mother had to raise for you to act like this, but whatever. So she's under fire for that, but it doesn't matter. I don't care. Also, the main star, Tom Blythe. who I have not seen a movie from him. I have not seen him act in anything. This is kind of a huge role for him. He's portraying the main character of a beloved franchise. This kid's a star. I would love to see what he does next after this movie. He is a superstar in the making, and he knows how to really elevate a scene. He is fantastic in this movie. Um, there are some performances that I thought were not so good. Mainly the tributes. I thought half of the tributes were forgettable and boring, and one of the tributes I thought was awful. Might as well be twiddling a mustache when this person said, I'm not going to expose who when this woman says, "You go find her. Mate, don't let her get away." Like, might as well be twiddling a mustache with a top hat. It was truly awful. And I know these are like young actors, but come on. They're randoms. It's a beautifully shot film. Like, it is a beautifully shot movie with great cinematography, and it shows you sorry. It shows you that Francis Lawrence was trying to make a competently helmed, good-looking film, and he has done that. The Hunger Games section of the movie split into 3 parts, and the Hunger Games section, like, when it actually gets into the Hunger Games part, I thought was brilliant. I thought it was well, intense, grasping, like, you don't know what's gonna happen. There's some tragic things that do happen, and they're not supposed to be, like, in a good way. They're more in a tragic way, and one of them kind of is a little bit screwed up in the head, but whatever. But that's really all I think that this movie has to offer. I think that realistically, this is not really in my opinion, this is not a well-written movie. I think there's some dialogue in here that's absolutely, like, one note stilted, like 2010 dialogue that's just not good. Some of the characters are quite forgettable. Hunter Schafer, who's actually really good in this movie, who plays the cousin and is she if you don't know who she is, she was on Euphoria, and she's kind of like she's a great actress. She's awesome in this movie. She's barely in the film. She's barely in the movie, which I honestly, I mean, I haven't read the books, so I don't know if this character is in the movie, but she's barely in this movie and she's great. Um, but what I not like about it, there's a lot. Like I said, the writing, some of the writing didn't feel right. The pacing is so bad. It's bad. It's bad. This movie. It's about 2 hours and 45 minutes, which I think what the biggest problem that Francis Lawrence said about the Mockingjay movies and why they weren't as successful or big hits as we thought they were going to be is because he did split them into 2 parts, and most of the majority of part one was set up, and part two was kind of a disappointing conclusion. The third part in this movie, I would have been fine with splitting into 2 parts because there's a lot that this movie does. I just say like. Uh What did I like about it? Well, uh, like there's a lot of story elements in this film that struggled with me that I grasp onto. Mainly the relationship between him, Snow, and Lucy Gray towards the end, I thought was just phoned in. It didn't feel convincing enough. It didn't feel real enough. It just didn't work. Um, y- Speaking of bad things, there's some awful CGI in here, which bad green screen. There's a shot that looks like one of the worst green screens I've ever seen in a movie this year. It was truly bad, and it didn't really help out. And it cost $100 million, which, I mean, a movie that costs $100 million. I mean, what are you gonna do? You can't do anything about it. But you could try. When the creator, which cost $80 million, looks as good as it does, and then you got these bigger budget movies that just look terrible looking, you know something's up. So I think the movie has strong performances, some off performances, good writing, some off writing, great story, some bad story, good sequences, some not so good sequences. This is a very mid movie. Very mid. I didn't like it. Or I didn't hate it, but it was fine. I was just disappointed. So, with that in mind, I'm going to give. Oh my god, sorry. I'm going to give Hunter Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Let's go see. 5.5 out of 10. I mean, if you're a diehard Hunter Games, go watch it. Otherwise, just wait to stream it. Just wait to stream it. Oh. All right. With that out, let's move on to the next topic, shall we? And that is this. Hunger Games: Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes took number one again and took over the Thanksgiving holiday with a great $42 million over the 5-day Thanksgiving weekend, $28 million on its second weekend, which is now the lowest drop for a movie this year in 2023, which is awesome. And obviously, the movie's gonna make a lot of money in the next couple of weeks. It could cross that $300 million mark that I thought it wouldn't, or I thought it would. It's going to, hopefully, in the next 2 weeks. But that's not what we're talking about. Last week, I said, look at this. Disney's Wish debuts to the lowest Rotten score since Chicken Little. Remember Chicken Little? Well, it's the first time that Walt Disney Animation had a rotten movie on their hands. And I said, listen, this is going to impact the box office very badly. And sure enough, it did. Because Wish opened to drastically low numbers. Wish opened to $19.5 million on its 3-day weekend and $31 million on its 5-day weekend for Thanksgiving. Now, I would like to preface this by saying that the movie was projected to aim for $50 million. With that being said, this movie should have easily made 40. Like, I'm sorry, but your movie's going to flop again. And the problem that I said last week, why I think this movie is going to flop or to struggle, is, well, many of reasons. One, because I don't think a lot of people know there's a new Hunger Games or a new Wish Disney animation movie coming out. Two, I don't think people care enough to watch a new Disney animation movie to go in the theater. Three, because who cares? Like, I don't think it looks good. Four, mainly it's because of the fact that, listen, we're used to Disney Plus. We don't need to go to the theaters. Well, yeah, that's probably why. Now, make no mistake, when Elemental debuted in June, it opened to $49 million worldwide, and it ended up making $494 million worldwide domestically, or the worldwide overall. So it's not like the movie bombed. It actually did really well, which is the same thing I wish I could say for Wish. I wish I could say that for this movie, but I can't because it's just not a good movie. I haven't seen it. But what I've heard from people saying, it's just not a good movie. So yeah, man. Despite everything I like about this movie, I don't see it. Or well, hold on. Let me go back and rephrase that. Despite the $31 million 3-day weekend or 5-day weekend this movie had, I just don't see a point in this movie at all. Let me check also. Yeah. Also in the box office, let's talk about Napoleon, a movie I unfortunately did not see Napoleon yet. I will get it to you at the end of the month, but it even made more than Napoleon, or it made less than Napoleon. Napoleon made point $20.4 million and ended up making 78.8 globally. Now, much like Wish, the movie had a ridiculous budget, so it's probably going to need to make in north of 300 to 400 million dollars. If it can do that, good. I just don't know if it can. I really don't. But sorry for the pauses. This just goes to show you that Disney needs to be really careful on how much money they spend on these movies because, man, you are blowing it right now with Disney. So again, like I want to say, well, this was doomed to happen. No, this was a film that just didn't have a market campaign, didn't really work. That's it. So there you go. Wish is a failure. And I said that last time to one of the viewers in this chat, and they were like, "No, I'm an English elementary teacher. It's okay." Um, okay, keep telling yourself that. All right, question. What do you think? Was Wish deserving of failing or what? Let me know. I actually think should I get a drink of water before, I don't know. No, I'm not gonna do that yet. I'm not gonna do that at all right now. But okay. With yeah, okay. Wait, yeah, okay. Now I know what to talk about. With that out, let's move on to the next topic, shall we? And that is this. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, the trailers have given a lot of what to look forward to. The beautiful scope of Atlantis, amazing visuals, and a really good time. That's what I was hoping for because the DC has been under fire, and a lot of movies that we were expected to be really good and may do really well ended up screwing in the box office and just failing. Now, let's see. Actually, you know what? Maybe I will get a drink. I will be right back to do this. Hold on a minute. Mm. All right, I'm back. Let's get back into it. So, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, a movie that, from what a lot of people have heard, is a film that really isn't that good. And that's really shocking to see. Now, the first movie opened to $67 million and managed to squeak out $335 million domestically for a total of 1.15 dollars. Now, the newest one comes out in December of 2023. And it was rumored originally to come out in December 16th, and then they pushed it to March, and then DC had another shakeup. So then they moved it to December, and here we are. Well, the early projections are in for this movie. And to say they are unique is weird, but they're in the area that I guess a lot of DC people and moviegoers would expect. Because according to Box Office Mojo, the projections for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom are anywhere between 32 and $42 million and a domestic total overall of 105 to $168 million. Okay, let's talk about this. This movie has virtually no excuse to not cross $400 million in the box office. I mean, there really is no excuse. I mean, it's a superhero everybody loves. It's an actor everybody loves. It's during Christmas time. The rewatchability factor is going to be huge. I mean, this is a movie that has no reason, and I mean no reason to flop. But if it flops, it's going to be bad. Now, let's also say like the general like and one of the main reasons why I think it's so low is that the general audience appetite for DC movies and comic book films have been underperforming. I mean, the Marvels clearly showed us what happened. Blue Beetle, Shazam, The Flash, which opened to $55 million, but then just destroyed itself. But I mean, this movie, it looks gorgeous, but it all depends on the rewatchability factor. I This movie needs to. There's no excuse, like I said, this movie needs to hit $400 million. Otherwise, it's going to be a failure. If it makes $500 million, it's great. If it makes 600, 700, it's even better. If it crosses 700 or 50, great, even better. If it makes over $800 million, DC is saved, and they can worry about production for Superman Legacy. Now, another movie that's coming out the same weekend is a film called Migration, and it's projected to open less in its opening weekend than Aquaman 2. It's projected to open between 25 and $30 million. But because of the way families want to take their kids to the movies for Christmas, they're projecting the domestic total overall is going to be even larger than Aquaman is. And they're projecting 140 to 250 in its final in the domestic total range. So they're saying this movie will open as low as 25, high of 30, which is lower than the opening weekend projection for Aquaman 2, and will end up domestically higher than Aquaman 1 or 2, which to me makes absolutely no sense. I mean, either your opening bid or your opening low There's no excuse for that. But listen, it's a kids movie. They're gonna rush to the theater. Aquaman, we don't know. We really don't know. So, I mean, again, now this is early production, early like kind of kind of early pre-sales, but from what I can tell, they are already 32%. They are 25% ahead of the Shazam sequel, which ended up debuting to $30 million, but also they're 62% behind Black Adam after one day of sample market tracking. I mean, there's a lot of things to look into this, but the main thing to look at is, are people ready to give the DCEU a one last goodbye? Because after this movie, there's no more DCEU. It's just James Gunn's universe. So that really boils down the question, are they ready? And the simple answer is, I don't know. I don't know if they're ready. But the question is for you guys in the chat or in the comments. Do you think Aquaman The Lost Kingdom is going to perform great, or will it be another DC flop? Whatever you think, let me know in the comments and leave them down below. All right. With that down, let's get into our final topic, and those are some movie reviews. I already talked about the Hunger Games movie, so let's talk about some other things. All right, hold on. Whew. One of the movies that I've skipped and I've been waiting to watch, or not really dying to watch, is that of the Gerard Butler action movie Kandahar. Kandahar, which, if you don't know, is about these two people that live in Afghanistan, or they're doing a mission and they're exposed, and so they have to go to a border location to get their names cleared out and go back to the US while there's a lot of bad guys shooting at them. Gerard Butler has done a movie this year called Plane, which I thought looked terrible from the trailers. Absolutely ended up enjoying the hell out of Plane. And I was hoping the same thing for Kandahar, but I didn't get the same reviews, which tells you one thing. It's not good. It's not a good movie. And the movie's not good. Man, and it is upsetting because this is a cool story of this one guy that's trying to get home to his family, and he's got his translator, who's also not a family, so it's like a battle, who's gonna survive, who's not. And I'm shutting my eyes because I don't know, I'm getting sleepy, I don't know why, but that's what I was doing the entirety of the movie. It's boring. It's a boring movie. Barely any action happens, which is something bad. Like, in an action movie, you have to make sure that you deliver on the action part. And if you don't, then your movie stinks. And this movie stinks. Gerard Butler's fine in the movie. He gives an okay performance, but it's not Oscar worthy. I'm sorry, it's just not Oscar worthy. Because, like, he's done this before. You seen him play the same character. He's a guy who's trying to help out. He's an ex-military, whatever. That's it. But there's one action sequence that I thought was absolutely awesome, and it was great. That's it. The attempts at humor fall flat. The jokes don't work. The cinematography is sometimes great looking, but then there's sometimes where it just looks weird. I don't know. But overall, we're gonna give it a D plus, 4 out of 10. It's on Hulu if you want to watch it, but skip it. It's not worth it. Next up, Happy Thanksgiving is the title of the movie. Thanksgiving is a new slasher film that came out last weekend that I didn't check out, directed by Eli Roth, and it's a horror film about a Black Friday massacre that goes horribly wrong. And there's this killer on the loose called John Carver that oh people are here, but they don't care about my podcast. That's sad. Okay, but like I said, a Black Friday event ends in tragedy. Some people die, and so there's this random killer that's going out killing a bunch of people, and it's kind of like a whodunit with Thanksgiving. And let me, I'll just say it right off the bat. I did not expect this movie to be good. I thought it was going to be absolutely terrible. It just doesn't look like a movie I would watch again. Doesn't look like a movie that I would see again. It doesn't. But the reviews came out and it were actually really good. So I was like, all right, maybe I'll give this one a shot. It's not really. Yeah, it's not it. It's an okay movie again. It's much like Hunger Games, where I thought there were parts of it that I liked, parts of it I didn't. The kills. Oh my god, the kills in this movie. If you are squeamish, then you should not watch this movie. The kills are so brutal, which perfectly explains why Eli Roth is so good at what he does with the gore and the gratuitous nonsense. Also, I thought there were some aspects of the jump scares that worked perfectly. The jump scares were executed perfectly. The filming of the film, or the technical pieces are great. The characters, though, there's one character I like, or two. The main girl, Jessica, I forget the actress's name. I don't know who the name is, but the other one, Scoob. There's a black guy in the movie, and his name is Scoob. He's hilarious. He's awesome. He's kind of like the jock, but he's so damn cool. That's what I like. Other than that, I found for characters some of the and Patrick Dempsey's in this movie. Nick Offerman is they're good in this movie. They played kind of like the father of Jessica, and then the Patrick Dempsey plays the sheriff. I thought they were good. Beyond that, I thought the characters were awful. And when you finally reveals who the killer is and why their motives are to kill everybody, you realize that these people are morons. And like, you're kind of a I don't know if I should say it, but you're kind of an asshole. Like, you realize that you did this and now somebody is mad, but you want to act all innocent. And when you watch the movie, you're like, yeah, yeah, that's actually true. You caused this entire thing because you couldn't wait. And now people are dying mainly because of you guys. And I felt the characters in this movie, I don't know their names. I don't care. Their names are irrelevant. Um, I don't even remember like the one guy, Ryan. He's like kind of like the jerk of the movie, but some of the performances were not good. The blonde chick in the movie, I don't care who she is. She was not good in this movie at all. She does not have anything to do other than to be cannon fodder. She was terrible. And she kind of has this like TikTok vibe where clearly Addison Rae's in the movie, so we have to attract the young demographic. But let's talk about Addison Rae for a minute. I thought her movie, He's All That, was absolutely terrible and just bad and just stupid. It kind of resembles everything wrong with modern day America and modern day Hollywood and social media, and I just don't like it. She's better in this movie. She really doesn't have anything to do. She's better in this film, but she doesn't really do much. She's just like there to be the jock girlfriend. I don't know. I don't understand why They keep doing this. They keep casting actresses and actors that are not actors. That don't have a resume of acting. It makes no sense. The story felt a little bit much like Scream. It's a ripoff. You've seen it a million times, the story and how it plays out. And the who done it part of the movie, there's a scene in this film which I won't spoil, but there's a scene in which a character asks a character, "All right, let's go into school so we can talk about something." And one of the characters is there, one of the characters isn't, and then the killer appears. It's like, "Oh, well, wait a minute. I know who it is now." And sure enough, by the end of the movie, I was like, "Oh, yeah." I, I To be honest with you, I would rather watch this movie than the Marvels. I didn't hate this movie. This is an okay film. The Marvels just not a good movie. But I thought this movie was great, and um there's some bad things in it. You know, it's a weird movie. And it's also another thing that I think this movie could have done is it takes itself way too seriously. Go for the over the top silliness, which would have been great. It would have been great to see the over the top silliness in a grindhouse horror film. It's great. There's no post credit scene, not that I know of, that I stuck out for. But overall, this wasn't my day for that. Overall, I'm going to give it a C on the Edge scale, a 4.5 out of 10. And you can stream it. It's not working. It just doesn't work. So far these movies have been really disappointing, but there's one movie I would like to talk about that I'm actually going to save for next stream because that's really all I had to talk about. I'll talk about The Killer next weekend when I talk about other movies because this Thanksgiving has been rough, for reviewing films. Because I had to get ready. A lot of movie theaters are not showing as much, shut down, whatever. So yeah, I'm gonna have more reviews up by next week, or more reviews to talk about next week. This is Hunter West signing off on the Western Star Movie Podcast.